This time of year, so much conversation around trades.
The Jays would like to add a starter if things work out that way, but if not, build up that bullpen.
Pop has got some dirty stuff. He has really been impressive.
And the bombshell has already happened.
They emptied out the farm system.
Have you ever saw this type of player in the prime of his career get traded?
If this ends up with the first world championship in team history, it's totally worth it.
Yankees making moves, Astros, Rays.
Frankie Montas went to the Yankees.
We think we added some really important pieces to our team.
Syndergaard should get moved. He is a rental at this point.
They're giving their team and their city a chance to play for the postseason.
An historic trade deadline day in Major League Baseball.
Campbell, so good to have J.P. Morosi.
Thanks, Jamie.
Of the MLB Network with us. Joe Siddall is on board as well. Let's take a look at what has gone down with respect to the Blue Jays. Just moments ago, they picked up Whit Merrifield from the Kansas City Royals on their way to KC. Samad Taylor, an infielder and outfielder, as well as Max Castillo, who you're familiar with by now. Mitch White was acquired from the Dodgers, a starting pitcher. He's made 10 starts for the Dodgers. Nick Frasso, who has had a tremendous year in Dunedin and Vancouver, is one of the prospects going to L.A. in that respect. As for Merrifield, he has twice led the American League in hits, but there are some concerns over the fact that he's not vaccinated and wasn't able to make the most recent trip with the Royals to Toronto. Also dealt today, Jordan Groshans, a former #1 pick by the Blue Jays, as they solidify to a degree the bullpen by having Anthony Bass return to the fold and getting Brampton, Ontario's Zach Pop, who had this to say about moving back to Canada.
It's pretty special to be able to go back home and see my family and to play for the Blue Jays. I got a lot of friends, a lot of people rooting for them right now, and to be a part of what they're doing over there is pretty amazing. They got a great team over there, and I'm lucky to be a part of it. They're doing some pretty special things all around the field.
This is my first time being traded at the deadline. It's exciting, right? You go into a team that has a chance to go to the postseason, which as players is what we always want to do. Our end goal is to win the World Series, so that part is exciting. Going to Toronto for that opportunity. Obviously a familiar place. I was with them in 2020, so that'll be a nice transition for me.
It's at this point in the evening where we start to assess whether or not enough has been done to make this team a World Series contender. Let's begin by sending it to the Rogers Center. Arash Madani and Arden Zwelling.
Well, Jamie, it's interesting when you look at what the Blue Jays wanted, what they ended up doing, some swing and miss in their bullpen, some added depth on the starting side, and Whit Merrifield. A lot can be read into what that move is about. But if you're a Blue Jay fan watching and wondering, what about the big impact starting pitching move? What about the big 8th, 9th inning guy, an Iglesias, Frankie Montas, a Trevino? What happened to all of them, Luis Castillo? It appeared that the Blue Jays did not want to wade into paying the high prices to bring in the big impact arm.
And there were some absolutely high prices paid at this deadline. Arash, you look at what Seattle gave up for Castillo, what the Yankees ended up giving up for Montas and Trevino. I think the Blue Jays would have been involved in those discussions, but inflation isn't just happening at the grocery store. It's happening across MLB right now. So if you want to be perfectly rational and disciplined and objective in your analysis of every trade at this deadline, and you need to gain value on every trade, I don't think there were a lot of trades out there for you, particularly when it comes to the really big names on this market, because we saw pretty high prices paid across the league.
We're about to speak with Ross Atkins soon. We're going to find out in short order exactly why the Blue Jays weren't willing to go to that level to go bring in some of these impact arms at a time where the Astros did, the Yankees did, And you just wonder, as the Blue Jays stand now, bringing in a couple of bullpen arms and adding Mitch White and also bringing in Merrifield, is that enough to be a legit contender in the American League?
We're going to find out. Anthony Bass is going to help in this bullpen, certainly, but I think this puts a lot of pressure on the Blue Jays to bring someone up internally, like a Yosfer Zulueta, a Nate Pearson, a Julian Merriweather, a Hayden Younger, who has some velocity and some swing and miss out of the bullpen, because you're going to need that now to supplement this group. Mitch White essentially takes over from Max Castillo at the back end of the rotation / swingman in the bullpen. And then Whit Merrifield, I mean, that's George Springer insurance. That might be a bit of an upgrade on Santiago Espinal and Kevin Biggio at second base right now. Those two guys have been slumping lately. Very interested to see how Merrifield's going to fit into this lineup and when he's going to get his shot.
Yeah, I mean, Springer's not playing tonight, and he continues, Jamie, to tell us, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be all right with the elbow. And it feels lately he's missing as many games as he's playing in them. You just wonder, could there be more than meets the eye with Springer's elbow, which led to the Merrifield deal? We're about to find out.
Thanks very much. Well, the biggest trade news for the Blue Jays came oh so close to that 6 p.m. Eastern deadline. Yes, the Royals have traded away infielder, outfielder Whit Merrifield to the Toronto Blue Jays for Samad Taylor and Max Castillo. Whitfield, a 33-year-old, as I said, infielder, outfielder on a team-friendly contract through next season with an option for 2024. Shai Davidi. What's interesting with him is when the Royals paid a visit to the Rogers Center just a couple of weeks ago, he was on the restricted list. So what does that mean for the Blue Jays?
Well, a couple things, Hazel. One, he cannot enter Canada if he does not get a vaccine. And that is something that he told Kansas City media that he would consider if he was in a situation where he needed to get into Canada for the postseason. So clearly this is something that he was open to, or at least willing to consider. Now, whether he's gotten it already or not is an interesting question, because in order to enter Canada, a traveler must be 2 weeks clear of being fully vaccinated. So if you're doing one of the 2-dose vaccines, it's a much longer runway. But if you take the J&J shot, which is just one shot, and that's considered fully vaccinated, it's a 15-day runway. And so if he, say, got it today or tomorrow, he would miss a handful of home games for Blue Jays home games later in August. They begin the month right now on opening a 10-game road trip. So he got a little bit of runway there. But if he got it a few days in advance, then maybe he might not be able, or he might be eligible to enter the country as soon as the Blue Jays return home August 12th.
So that'll be an interesting kind of sidebar to the acquisition of Merrifield. He is having a down season. He got off to a slow start offensively, but over the last 68 games or so has picked it up. He's hitting almost 300. So where does he fit, though, in this Blue Jays roster?
That's a great question, too, Hazel. And look, he is a versatile player, and he's got some experience in the outfield. Most baseball fans will probably think of him as a second baseman, but he's got 76 career games in center field. And with the Blue Jays right now in a bit of an uncertain situation with George Springer, that's another layer of protection there in case George Springer has to miss time. Now, he did do some baseball activity earlier today, George Springer, that is. The Blue Jays intend to see how he feels tomorrow, where he's at with his elbow, and then proceed to make some decisions from there. And so this doesn't necessarily mean that George Springer is going to miss a significant amount of time, but in the event that was necessary, maybe they decide to give him some time on the injured list to heal up that elbow and get himself right for a postseason run. And now they've got an extra layer of depth that they can use in center field.
Manager John Schneider saying he is, a Springer that is day to day. They're just being super cautious with that elbow. Also close to that 6 p.m. Eastern deadline, Mitch White and prospect Alex DeJesus was traded to the Blue Jays from the LA Dodgers for right-hander Nick Frasso. A lot of Blue Jays fans may be familiar with Nick's name there, and left-hander Moises Brito, I believe is his name. How does Mitch White fit in the puzzle of arms here?
Well, we knew that the Blue Jays were looking to address the bullpen, and they were also looking to add some starter depth because the Blue Jays didn't have a clear number 6 for their rotation. Max Castillo, who one of the players who went to the Royals in the Merrifield deal, he was sort of the number 6, but there wasn't a lot of track record there. There wasn't a lot that you can count on and maybe feel comfortable if something happen, like Alek Manoah taking a ball off the elbow on the weekend, and who stands in his place if he happened to need an extra day or something like that? That's not the case. But they were really exposed in that way. Mitch White has some big league experience. He's pitched mostly out of the rotation for the Dodgers this season, but he was also able to give them some depth. If something happens, they are now better protected.
All right, we are running out of time. Just to recap as well, Anthony Bass and Zach Pop, a Canadian, also traded over from the Marlins for Jordan Groshans. And Zach Pop, very familiar with Jordan Romano. The two played together, worked out together rather, in Mississauga with the Ontario Blue Jays. We'll have more on him later in the broadcast. That's it from the Trop. Let's send it back to you guys.
All right, Hazel, thank you so much. So 4 players acquired that could impact the Major League roster immediately, beginning with Whit Merrifield, who frankly was a shocker as far as I'm concerned. But the prospect of a Springer long-term injury certainly plays a part in that acquisition. What do you think of this?
It does, Jamie, and I think we'll probably find out when Ross Atkins addresses the media later on this evening exactly how serious the Springer injury is. We saw him colliding in the outfield, the soreness that he's had with the elbow. I think we'll probably get more details now that we're past the trade deadline. Whit Merrifield, a very versatile player. I think he's been a Gold Glove caliber defender, typically on the right side of the infield. I've liked him a lot in right field. He can play center, so he's insurance for Springer there. I think from a balance perspective, Jamie, I'm just surprised that at no point in time this week did we see the Jays add a left-handed batter. This, to me, you look at the 9 top players among all position players on the Blue Jays roster, all of them are right-handed. And you look at the playoffs, you think about facing Justin Verlander or Garrett Cole, and you're going to run out a lineup of maybe 8 righties and 1 lefty. Joe, to me, it's asking a lot of the current cast to compete against that level of pitching.
And as soon as you said that, John, I looked down at my sheet and I think of that Efros that the Yankees acquired, a right-hander to get right-handers. Well, guess who has a lot of right-handers? You just rolled it off your tongue in the Blue Jays. I don't know that it was an extreme necessity to add a left-handed bat to this line. It was low on my wish list. It was way after a couple of power arms for the bullpen. That didn't necessarily happen either. But by adding Whit Merrifield, it's a nice piece. It's a nice depth piece to give you some versatility. And it's almost like that piece that I would say, this helps the team get a little bit deeper for a run to hopefully get to October. I'm assuming this team's in October. We all should be assuming this team constructed before the deadline was good for October. Now it's about winning in October. So I think overall, and we'll talk more about the other pieces, overall pretty underwhelming for me.
Merrifield's an elite hitter, too, and some might say, well, yes, lots of right-handed bats, but all of them can hit. We'll see. Let's focus on the bullpen. Most people would say that was their greatest need. Was it addressed properly?
Jamie, I don't think we saw enough swing and miss late in the game coming over in these trades. Pop certainly can help, more of a maybe middle inning option. Bass has a lot of experience. He has even some closing experience. I think he's probably going to pitch the latest in the game. And Mitch White has the kind of stuff that might play up out of the bullpen. But you look at White, and he is a less than 1 strikeout per inning pitcher. He is, I think it was a great point that Arden made, the comparison to Castillo. I think it's a very good comparison that Arden made about what the role is going to be for Mitch White on this team. So I would have liked to have seen maybe one of the big arms we saw from the Tigers over the weekend arriving here to Toronto. And one final note before I close the book entirely on Merrifield. I've checked with the Royals, I've checked with the Jays so far, I've checked with Whit's agent. It's still not entirely clear if he's going to get vaccinated. I would expect that he will. But I've not heard anybody tell me definitively, yes, it will happen. And so I just wanted to make sure I made that clear.
And for the bullpen, JB, we've been talking for months about swing and miss stuff that this Blue Jays bullpen needs. And I said, again, 162 is one thing. But once you get into that month of October, how many times, Jamie, we sit here every postseason and we talk about relievers. High leverage relievers with, I say, power stuff. Now, swing and miss stuff comes in different shapes and sizes. It can be Anthony Bass's slider, a lot of swing and miss. He is going to help. This is a good piece. But I want some power arms like this because any hitter in that Blue Jays lineup will tell you, when you see 98 and then a secondary pitch, that's not the guy you want to face. You'll take the guy that's kind of a sinker slider type guy. So I still don't think, I use the word underwhelming because I wanted to see more power at the back end.
But as Arden said, perhaps that's addressed, the addition of a power arm internally, whether it's Zulueta Or a healthy Nate Pearson? Who knows?
Okay, easy now.
Well, hey, I'm just
We've
saying.
been down this road.
Yes, we have.
Experience.
There's, Alec Manoah signing some autographs at Tropicana Field. We do have a game tonight. The Blue Jays are taking on the Rays. Stay with us on Blue Jay Central. Don't be such a downer, Siddle.